the Rabbanan who hold that we give the guy only one punishment. That's what the Rabbanan said. If a guy goes ahead and he frames somebody, let's say he said you owe 200, the two witnesses come and say you owe $200, and they were found to be false witnesses. So he says, the Rabbanan say you only give to them what they wanted to do to that guy. They wanted to obligate $200. So what do we do to the witnesses? We obligate the witnesses $200. That's the next Mishnah is going to, they're going to say they're going to split. That's what the Gemara Mishnah is going to say. But we're going to see there's going to be a difference between money and if they wanted to obligate lashes. The Gemara's going to say lashes, they don't split. Each one's going to get 39. The money, they're going to split. And then the Gemara's going to ask the question, what's the kill them both. Right. So we're going to see what the difference, why is there a difference between money that they could split the money, the witnesses, and when it comes to lashes, they don't split, right? So we'll have to see what's the reason. The Gemara is going to discuss. That's going to be discussion. Why is that? But in our case, we're going to say that we're going to Rabbanan say we do to the witnesses what they wanted to do to the other guy. But even though and that's from a kasher zamam. The pasuk says the sisim lo kasher zamam. You do to them what they wanted to the other guy. The Gemara asks. We have a pasuk. The pasuk says, "Lo saneh b'reyacha it shokeh." You do not not allowed to testify against your friend to be a false witness against your friend. So the Gemara says, why don't the Rabbanan use that pasuk? What are they going to do with that pasuk? What is that pasuk? Because usually, when the Torah says it says a lo saseh, it's coming to tell us malkut. It's coming to tell us lashes, and since the Rabbanan say we don't give the guy lashes for just talking, for testifying falsely, because we do what's the punishment? We do to them what they wanted to do to the other guy. So what do we need? What is the need for the pasuk of the Torah saying don't bear a false witness? What is that coming to teach us? If once you tell me you're going to punish the guy to do to them what they wanted to do to the other guy, so you know you can't be a false witness. So what's the need for this pasuk? Now, some explain the Gemara's question. Okay, so what does the Gemara answer? What's the purpose of this pasuk? If it's not coming to teach us malchut, so the Gemara answers, you know what this pasuk, mibayale, they need this pasuk with 3 lines from the bottom in the Hebrew, la'azhara la'idim zomim. We need this pasuk for azhara. Azhara is a warning. The use of this pasuk, they don't use it to give malkut, because they say we don't give malkut for just framing someone. Automatically, that's not the punishment. Like everywhere else, like when the Torah says don't eat pork. If a guy eats pork, he'll get malkut, right? Here we're saying that's not going to be the standard punishment for violating the lo saneh. So what is it coming to teach you? La'ashara, a warning la'idim zomim. The Torah is telling you the warning that witnesses are not allowed to talk to frame someone. What does that mean? The rule is when the Torah gives a punishment, anytime there's a punishment from the Torah, it always preceded by telling an azhara. It always preceded the warning that the Torah forbids you to do something. If the Torah goes ahead and just tells, we'll never go ahead and say you get a punishment for something, you get malkut, or the person gets lashes, or death for something, or some other type of punishment. Generally, you have to have the way the Torah works. The one where you're on is that the Torah goes ahead and it gives a hazara. So that's the purpose. That's what the Gemara says. It's coming to tell the witnesses that you're not allowed to do this thing. It's like the same. It's like very similar to the idea that we don't punish somebody. We don't give a guy lashes. We don't give a guy mita unless he was warned, right? You have to warn the guy. So too, the same way we have to warn, the Torah needs to tell us a warning. The Torah needs to forbid an item. The Torah just doesn't go ahead and give a guy lashes without telling you, as far as I'm going to give you lashes. Did you ever tell me I can't do it? But the warning, the law, by saying again, by the Torah, sometimes the Torah giving the warning, and sometimes the witnesses give the warning. Meaning, like we said, Eidim Zomimim don't require a warning from. We don't have to warn them when they come to court to testify. But the Torah needs to warn the Eidim Zomimim. Morning, Nathan. Good morning, Jaime.
Good morning.
Morning, Boker Tov.
Thank you.
The Torah needs to warn if the Torah gives to us any penalty for doing something wrong, for doing something, it has to have first told us, don't do this. It just says, the Torah doesn't just go ahead and says, a guy is Mechalel Shabbat, Mot Yuma. The guy desecrates the Shabbat, there's a capital punishment. What does the Torah do? First, the Torah says, Lo Saseh. So it says, you're not allowed to do Malacha on Shabbat. Then, follows that comes, but if you do Malacha on Shabbat, comes a punishment. So it's never going to just tell us, a person desecrates the Shabbat, Mot Yuma. It won't just say that. It needs to first introduce to us that this action, this thing is forbidden. And then it can follow up with a punishment. So that's what the Rabbanan are saying. The Torah says you do to the witnesses, if witnesses testify falsely, they frame a guy, you do to them what they wanted to do to the other guy. That's second part two. That's the punishment. But you have to first tell me you can't frame somebody. You first got it. The Torah needs to tell me that it's forbidden to frame somebody. Say it again. No, so that's what, very good. So that's what the Rabbanan says. Therefore, we need this pasuk. This pasuk is serving a great purpose. This lo saneh, what is it serving us? This is serving to tell you it's forbidden to frame somebody. That's the purpose of this pasuk. And another pasuk of Chashezamam is telling you the actual punishment. Now, this is different than what'd you say? No. Right. But the chidush is meaning the Torah. But the Torah needs to tell. Each pasuk has a purpose. One pasuk is step one. Step one is you have to first tell me something is forbidden. If you're going to tell me step two, there's a punishment. So that serves that purpose. Step two is the actual punishment is you do to them what they want to do to the other guy. Now this is different than many other cases. Any other case of the Torah just tells us something is forbidden. Step one, you can't wear shatnez. You can't shave with a razor blade. The Torah doesn't tell us there the punishment. The Torah just tells us what you can't do. And then we have a law that we know if a person violates something that you cannot let, the Torah says you can't do it, if it contains an action, carries with it lashes. But there we only needed step one. Step one, just tell me you can't do it. And then step two, the punishment could be learned out from something else. But you always need step one. Step one will never have step two, the punishment, without step one, that the Torah says first, you can't do it. That's what the Gemara says. So now the Gemara shoots back. Okay, that's when you're telling me that the Rabbanan, that's why I need two psukim. What's it again? No, from the Torah. Because the Torah says, so it's from Vasisa, you do to the witnesses what they wanted. But all the other ones, it's not open by all cases, but it's open by specific case. Right, certain cases, the Torah does not tell us the punishment by every violation. But certain things, the Torah goes out of its way. It doesn't tell us if a person wears shatnez, he gets lashes. It doesn't tell us that. A person eats not kosher, it doesn't tell us that. Most of the time, things that carry with it the karet penalty, when they're cut off from the next world, or they die young, most of the time there, the Torah will tell us that he gets karet. That there, usually it's not going to leave it to some other, it's more open, the Torah will spell out that punishment, but the punishment of lashes is not always spelled out. So now the Gemara shoots back, V'Rameya, back two lines from the bottom in the Hebrew. V'Rameya, as hara le'etem zomemim, the warning for the witnesses that frame a guy, Menale. Jaime, you have the Gemara? We are on Dalet on the base, 4B3. We are on the right column. 4B3, right column for Rameya. Do you have it? Got it, very good. So the Gemara wants to know, Rameya, now Rameya gives two punishments. He does, a guy framed somebody on a financial matter. He said, they framed the guy, he said, you owe someone $200. So Rameya says in that case, and then they came to be framers. Rameya says, we're going to give two punishments. The witnesses are going to pay $200, and they're also going to get lashes. That's what Rameya says. So now the Gemara wants to know, so if there's two punishments, there has to be each punishment needs to have had a warning beforehand. The Torah is going to give a punishment of lashes, has to have a previous warning. The Torah is going to go ahead and give a punishment, do to them what they wanted to the other guy, has to have each one needs its own separate warning. So where is the separate warning for each case? So that's the Gemara's question. Meaning you have one pasuk, lo saneh b'riacha eit shokeh. Don't bear a false witness. Okay, that could be a warning for lashes. Like the general rule, you violated lo saneh, Torah says don't do something, there'll be a warning for lashes. But how do you, what'd you say?
You just told us that
There's lo saneh b'riacha eit shokeh. That's one pasuk. Don't bear false witness. That's a warning. But then if you do kasher zamam, then you didn't. But then we're also giving lashes. So he needs a warning for the you need, meaning Rameya has two punishments on the table: lashes and money. So each lashes and do to them whatever they want to do to the other guy. So if that's the case, so you have two punishments. Meaning you have two punishments. So so therefore, according to Rameya, we're gonna need four psukim, right? Because each punishment is gonna need a warning. So therefore, so now the Gemara wants to know, according to Rameya, where is the warning? He has a warning for the lashes. Let's say the warning is don't bear false witness. But where is the warning for we're going to punish the guy, whatever he wanted to do to the other guy? But first you got to warn, tell me where it's forbidden. You need a separate pasuk to tell me you can't do that. You can't bear, another pasuk says you can't bear a false witness. So the Gemara says, where does he know that the warning to the witnesses that they're going to get the punishment of doing to them what they wanted to do to the other guy? Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, he learns it out from the pasuk, v'hanishorim, the people that remain, the remainder of the people, yishmu'u v'yira'u, they will hear about this story. They will hear about the framers, and they will v'yira'u v'lo yosifu. So 1 second, we're going to go. They're going to hear about it. Let's see, 1 second, and they're going to be afraid because that they see what happens to a guy, that he gets punished, that we do to them what they wanted to do to the other guy. V'lo yosifu od, they will not continue to do this. That means, what does the pasuk say? The pasuk says when they mete out the punishment to the witnesses, what they wanted to do to the other guy, the people, the bystanders, people will hear about it, and therefore, as a result of that, they will be afraid to do it. And then it won't, and v'lo yosifu, they won't continue doing such type, people won't add and continue to act in such a fashion. So by the fact that the Torah says, and they will not do this, they will not. that's when the Torah said, where does the Torah say, don't do it? So according to Rameya, there's going to be two punishments. There's going to be lashes. If a guy frames someone on a monetary case, Rameya says we're going to give the guy two punishments. One, Rameya says because you do to them what they wanted. They want to obligate money. They have to pay money. But then Rameya says another thing which the Chacham disagree. They say we're also going to give lashes for violating the verse of Lo Saneh, don't bear a false witness. Meaning, so now the Gemara says, well, you're giving two punishments, you need to have two punishments needs two warnings. The Torah, to give two punishments, the Torah says say twice you can't do this and you can't do that. To give two punishments, you need two warnings, so to speak. Each punishment requires the Torah to tell us a warning about it. It could be one Aveirah by bearing false witness or framing somebody, but if we're going to give two punishments, each punishment requires its own personal prohibition that the Torah needs to tell us, don't do this. So in general, the case of Motzi Shemra we found is an exception. That's the exception to the rule that we give two punishments to the husband who frames his wife. And here, according to Rameya would say,
you guys, okay, hold on. I have
here's
some
another
question
case.
for you.
Another case. So that's what the Gemara says. Now, if I read the language of the pasuk in the Torah.
So we try to say both. The fact that it has two double negative, they're going to be scared. It's considered two.
Oh, very good. It's the language, the key words that we need to highlight is v'lo yosifu o, and you will not do it again. They will not, meaning you will not. It's like the negative, low, and not to do this anymore. If I tell you not to do it again, that means I'm telling you, I'm warning you, don't do it. So therefore, those words of, I'll read it in English over here, and they shall not continue to do further like this evil thing in your midst. If I tell you that they shall not do, that is a way of, and it's another way of saying you're not allowed to do. It's another way of a warning. Exactly. That's called a warning.
Are these warnings required to be directed specifically at an individual, or are public warnings to an entire town considered you've all been warned?
Okay, so here we need to, with taking the Torah itself is warning the Jewish, so to speak, the Jewish community. The Torah itself is saying, even though it's saying that the people that will hear about it will not continue to, shall not continue to do, they shall not do this anymore. It's really, the pasuk is really telling us, not only the people that hear about it, the whole Jewish community, the whole Jewish world. It's a general warning to the whole Jewish people. The Torah is saying not to do this, not to go ahead and to do what these guys do. It's a general warning to the whole Jewish community, and therefore it becomes a warning that the Torah is giving. It's as if the Torah is saying to the Jewish community, don't bear, another pasuk telling us, don't be framers. As if the Torah is saying, what you understand? So if the Torah is telling us not to be framers, good morning. So therefore, that becomes the warning of the Torah, which is followed by the punishment of do to them what they wanted to do to the others.
So public warnings do count against all individuals.
I'm saying, see, but this public warning is unique, Jaime. This is a public warning to the Jewish community, which is serving its place. It's not serving as the warning that witnesses have to give to the individual. Let's say in general, if you want to go ahead and give, and in order for a person to get punished by the court, generally the witnesses have to give the person a warning prior to the person doing the act. There's a personal warning that the witnesses have to give to the person. That's a personal warning. But besides the personal warning that the witnesses have to give to the person, the Torah needs to give the warning to the person. The Torah has to warn the person. Meaning, not just the witnesses go ahead and say, "You're not allowed to do that." That's not gonna be sufficient unless the Torah already went on record to say you're not allowed to do that. So we're looking here, Jaime, to
But
find.
give me
Yes,
an example of Mechalel Shabbat. When is a person considered warned?
right, excellent. Mechalel Shabbat. One, the Torah tells us. We read the Torah gave a warning. Torah says, Lo sasa kol melacha. Don't do work on Shabbat. The Torah tells us a warning. Torah tells us it's forbidden. Asur. Then the Torah tells us the punishment. Mechalel mot yumah. A person who desecrates the Shabbat will be punished. Now, of course, they could do tshuva, but the court, but in the case when there's witnesses that witness him that he sinned and but then he gets punished by the court. Right, right, exactly. There's two warnings. Right. There's two warnings comes out every time a person gets punished by the court. There has to be two warnings. What's the two warnings? One warning is that the Torah first has to have gone on record, black and white, to say you're not allowed to do this. And besides the Torah saying you're not allowed to do it, you need the witnesses to tell the person you're not allowed to do it. The only case that the Torah only has to give one of the two, that only the Torah itself has to warn you, but the witnesses don't have to warn the guy, is Adam Zoman. Adam Zoman has the unique thing that just the Torah needs to warn, and that's sufficient. The witnesses don't have to be warned by an individual. They just have to be warned from the Torah. Everybody else got to be warned by an individual. Besides the Torah itself forbidding it, the witnesses have to go ahead. You have to have witnesses going and say, I want to warn you right now. If you do this, you're going to get it. Does that answer your question, Jaime, or not? Hold on one second. Tell me if it's sufficient or not. Good morning, Mr. Haver.
I think he got frozen, Rabbi.
Okay, the computer.
Yes, that's the answer. Thank you.
Is it clear?
Yes.
Very good. Yes. Yes. That's it.
Right before it talks about all of it, it says first you do to that to the witnesses.
You do the witness. Right.
And then after that it says Jerusalem is conspired to come to his fellows and shall destroy the people from you. And then those shall be hearkening and feared and shall not.
And they shouldn't. But then get the key word.
You have both negative. You have two. You have two warnings back to back here.
Where's the two warnings? Which verse?
The first one is the pasuk before it says, "You do to them."
Do to them is not a warning. Do to them is a punishment.
Okay.
I need to tell me that you're not. I need the warning, not meaning I'm punishing the guy. But where did you tell me I can't do this? Where did you tell me I can't be the false witness? You need to tell me. You give the guy a punishment. He has to have been. The Torah had to have warned the guy first. You don't just the Torah. That's the punishment. Doing to. Right. When the Torah says that this is the punishment for doing this sin, that's the creating the Shabbat, that's not the Torah's warning. That's the punishment. The Torah needs first to tell me you're not allowed to do work on Shabbat. It's not going to give us a punishment without first telling us you can't do this. Mr. David, that's the issue that we're going on. Right. So, but how do we? But here the Gemara is using the pasuk of V'lo Yosifu.
What about the pasuk before that? It says the judges shall inquire thoroughly, and behold, the testimony was false testimony.
Fine, but
That's still not a warning.
No, that's not a warning. It's just that's the judges looking into it to do a cross examination. Yes.
Just say, and we learned also in the past that Zomim did only the warning.
Zomim, we said the Zomim. Good morning. We said the Zomim
don't need a warning.
Good morning. Good morning. Make yourself comfortable.
So, Rabbi, you said the Zomim they don't need a warning to get kasher.
They don't need a warning from witnesses down here, but they need a warning from the Torah. Meaning, as we pointed out, there's two warnings going on. There's a warning from the Torah, and then there's a warning from the people down here. Every time the Torah gives a punishment, it's always preceded by a warning. Is that clear? No place does the Torah say, I'm going to give a certain punishment for violation of a sin without telling us that you can't do it. It doesn't just give punishment. The punishment has to have the Torah telling us you're not allowed to do this. It doesn't just say a punishment without having told you. But here also, the Gemara is saying here also, the Torah has to give us the warning, but the people down here don't have to give the warning. That's the difference, Mark. Meaning, Adam Zomim is an exception to the rule that there's two rules. There's two general rules. One rule which we never found an exception is that the Torah always has to forbade something in order for the Torah to punish someone for violating that. If the Torah will never just go ahead and say, person who desecrates the Shabbat gets punished without telling us you're not allowed to desecrate the Shabbat. It always has to tell us that you're not allowed to do the thing in order for us to for the Torah to punish on something. Just for the Torah to state a punishment without telling us you're not allowed to do it, that's not the way the Torah works. You always have to have told us you can't do it. Is that clear? Nathan, is that clear? But then there's another law where there is an exception to the rule. It's true, the Torah, God himself needs to warn us in the Torah. But the question is down here on earth, does a person who does the sin, do they need to be warned in addition to God's warning? In the Torah, do they need to be warned by people down here also? So in general, we say, look who's here. Mike, look who's here. Wow. Founding fathers of the Gemara class. So Mike Dahan is here. So what does the Gemara say? So the Gemara says in general, every person, in general, any time the Torah is going to give a punishment of lashes or anything, that when the court down here meets out a punishment, malkut, mitah. What's the rule? A person needs to have to be warned by the witnesses. A guy eats pork. If he's not warned by witnesses beforehand, the court is not going to give him lashes. The guy wears shatnez. If the witnesses, if you weren't warned individually, that's the general. But there is an exception. We found one exception to the rule, that the court could mete out a punishment without the people down here getting warned by a person. What's the case? We said Adam Zomim is the case that nobody down here warned these witnesses that if you do this, you're going to get punished. The only one who warned the witnesses is the Torah itself. No, a second. And the Gemara is learning. Now the Gemara is in search. Where does the pasuk say? So now, according to the Chachamim, there's one punishment by Adam Zomim. So we only need the Torah to tell us one time that it's forbidden to do. But there's only one punishment. And therefore, where does the Torah tell us you can't frame somebody? From the 10 Commandments. Lo saneh b'riach eit shakar. Torah says you can't bear false witness. So for the Chachamim, everything is good. We have a Torah telling us it's forbidden to do it. And then the Torah tells us a punishment. You do to them what they wanted to do to others. So that fits very good. But Rameya says there are two punishments coming on. Rameya says, you hear that, Mike? Rameya says we're going to give the guy lashes for bearing false witness, in addition to paying when he frames someone on payment. So Rameya is giving two punishments. So now we need to see two psukim to tell us on each one of those cases that we have two punishments in the Torah according to Rameya for being a false witness. One punishment is lashes. Another punishment is do to them what they wanted to do to the other guy. That's another punishment. I mean, but he holds that's the regular machmir usually means, right? Yeah, here's a more strict opinion, right? So now, so where is the what? But a mayor understands that even though the Torah says "Vasisim lo kasher zamam," Rameh understands there's another punishment called Malkut, right? Rameh says because you violated the lo saneh, don't bear a false witness. General rule is, Torah says don't do something, you violate it, comes to within lashes. So Rameh has two psukim that tell us, he learns out there are two punishments. One is lashes for the Eidim Zomim, and the other punishment is do to them what they wanted to do to others. So the Gemara wants to know, where do we find two warnings from the Torah? Two punishments, if the Torah gives two different punishments, require two different warnings. So the Gemara now, that's what the Gemara is in search, and that's where the Gemara finds this pasuk. Where did the Torah tell us, and where is this another warning for the Eidim Zomim, not the frame? Because the Torah says, everybody will hear about it, what these guys did, they will hear about it, and they will not do this again. Now, if I tell you and they will not do it again, is that a warning or not? I think that's a warning. And you're not, what, is that a warning? It's true, but it's still a warning. Right. This is the warning of the Torah. There's two warnings. There's the warning of the Torah, and there's the warning of the people downstairs. So now we're talking about the warning of the Torah. Where does it, morning, Jake? Where does the Torah tell us? Yes, it's true. Yaron is pointing out a very good point. That here the Torah, when the Torah said that they will not do it again, it's written after the sin was done. But he doesn't hold that's a problem. As long as you could see that the Torah is telling you don't do it, whether the Torah tells you don't do it before you did the sin, or the Torah tells you don't do it after you did the sin. As long as the Torah says, don't do this, that's where the Torah is giving you a warning. So Rameh says that's called a warning. And therefore, the Torah says, don't do it. So that tells us, that teaches us, that's the warning that the Torah gave, which preceded, which we're going to look at as, and therefore you could also punish the guy for doing to them what they wanted to do to others. How could you punish them? Where did the Torah give a warning on that? Torah says, don't be like these guys who frame. And if I tell you, don't be like these guys, that's a warning. I'm telling you, don't do it. Just like, don't desecrate the Shabbat. That's the warning of the Torah. The punishment is Mechalel Mot Yuma. And then we have another pasuk of don't be a false witness. That will give the lashes. According to Rameh. So Rameh has two. So he covered all ground. He now found a pasuk. He found two warnings in the Torah. Therefore, two punishments could follow. Good morning to the Feldman brothers. Forgive me. I would say Mr. and Mr. The Feldman brothers are here. Baruch Hashem. Okay. Across from the yeshiva was Reuben and Reuben Associates. Feldman and Feldman. Okay. So the Gemara says, now the Gemara says, Rabbanan. With the Rabbanan, what do they do with this pasuk? This pasuk, the Gemara says we have a pasuk that tells us that if you see somebody frame somebody, the pasuk says, the people that will hear about it, that will see it, they will not go ahead and continue to do this again. They will not. They will learn from this story. They will learn from the framers, not the people. They saw the punishment that will happen to people to frame, and they will not continue in doing this, and they won't do this again. People won't follow in their actions. So the Gemara says, why the Rabbanan who say that lo saneh, when the Torah says don't bear a false witness, they say that pasuk is coming to tell us a warning for if you frame somebody. Why don't they use the pasuk? What do they do with this pasuk when the pasuk says the people who hear about the framing, they shall not follow in the footsteps? What is this pasuk teaching us? Rabbanan hahu mebayalei lachraza. The Rabbanan say when the Torah says that the people should not follow, the Torah is telling us an announcement. The Torah is coming to teach us the following. The Torah is not coming to tell us this. This is not needed for the warning of the witnesses. We know the witnesses can't bear false witness. When the Torah says, don't bear false witness. That's in the 10th commandments. And what is this pasuk telling us? You need to make an announcement. You need to publicize. We don't do this on all cases. Not every time the court gives a punishment do we make a public declaration about what the guys did wrong. But the Rabbanan say that the purpose of this pasuk is to make an announcement. What is the announcement? If you look at the top Rashi on Hayam and Aleph, they make an announcement after the Bezdin has to say, so-and-so got killed in the court because of a certain sin that he did. It might be a warning, but he's saying that, but what's coming for, it's not coming. Rabbanan say this pasuk, and they should not do it again, is not coming as to come to tell us the warning for witnesses. Rather, it's coming, the point of this pasuk is coming to tell us to publicize, to make a public declaration about the people who did this specific sin. And that's what the pasuk is coming to teach us. And what do you say? It might be a warning, but that's not what he's saying, but it's not what the pasuk is coming to teach us. The pasuk is not coming to teach us the warning, don't bear false witness here. The pasuk is coming to, according to Rabbanan, they understand this pasuk is teaching us that people should not follow in the footsteps of this guy for the purpose of we want to publicize the sin. We want to publicize not for the point that the Torah is coming to forbade. Here the Torah is coming to forbade this, to tell us not to do this. It's not coming for that purpose.
To make them fearful.
To make them fearful, right? It's a warning. It is a warning, but it's more. Right. It's coming for the purpose. See, let's see what the commentary says over here. Right. It's right. The point of this pasuk is to announce, in a certain sense, is to announce to the community, to tell us that this guy did such and such a sin. But it's not they shall fear. It's not coming to tell us you should know how do we know you're not allowed to bear false witness. That's not what it's coming to tell us. It's coming to tell us we need to make an announcement. We need to publicize this guy's sin. And Rameya holds, right? And Rameya holds, hachroza. How do you know you have to publicize this guy's sin for framing someone? And obviously, the Torah is very strict about a framer. Therefore, not every sin do you make an announcement. The guy who bought shot is the guy ate pork. Doesn't mean every sin you announce. But here they're going to announce this because they want people not. This is such a probably the level of the sin. Rameya learns from the pasuk that says that the people will hear and they will fear. That will teach us the announcement. You have to make an announcement, and Rameya uses, and then the lo yosifu, they won't continue to do like that. Rameya uses, that is the Torah's warning for false witnesses. So the bottom line of the Gemara is that the Rabbanan use this pasuk. You have to make a special announcement. Rameya uses this pasuk as a warning for the witnesses. And therefore, if each one has their opinion. At the end of the day, we have a pasuk for Rameya. Why he gives two punishments, and the Rabbanan only give one punishment. And Allah like the Rabbanan, we give one punishment. And that's the purpose of that.
Eli.
What's that? Kodesh Baruch Hu Zakas itself. Fika Chemelam Torah Mitzvah Shmema. Adonai Chafetz L'Masri Kol Yadil Torah V'Yadir.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Good morning, Mark.
Avi, leave it. Finish the prayer and you eat your breakfast.
H, you still there? Let's go. Ariel, how are you?
Ariel, you're on mute.
Good morning, Mark.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, thank God.
What happened to you?
Hashem. Soccer rupture, Achilles rupture in soccer.
Soccer? You're still playing soccer? You're too old for that.
I know. I play like I think I was still 20 years old and went too hard on it.
Ariel, I feel bad. I didn't say you were on. Forgive me.
It's okay, Rabbi. It's beautiful class as usual.
Thank you. We want to see you hopefully soon, Ariel.
God willing, starting next week. I feel my feet now more comfortable.
All right. Well, hopefully I'll get you your book when you're coming next week. Is that next
God
week?
willing, yes.
Okay.
God willing.
You got it. Be well. Feel better.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Rabbi.
Ariel,
Yeah,
Good morning,
take care.
Hashem. How are you, Baba?
what's going on?
Oh, good.
We have to talk about Morocco. Listen,
You going? Good morning,
I
Akiva.
want to go with my dad,
Yeah, it's amazing. It's beautiful.
so that we have to talk to see
My pleasure. I
if we
give you
need
my
to take a
insight.
guide. Huh?
Yeah, I'll give you my insights, advices that as much as I can help. I'll help you if you need anything there. I'll see what I can do.
Okay.
Okay, Baba. Everything okay?
Yeah, thank God. Everything good.
We miss you. We don't see you anymore.
I know. It's
You
hard,
don't even come to visit. You think?
If I have to be visiting at 8 o'clock in the morning, it means I have to leave from here at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
But just so you understand, look, that's where I live, you see?
Thank God.
Yeah, that's my views every day, all day.
Baruch Hashem. It's beautiful.
Yeah, no complaint.
Thank God.
No complaints, Robert.
Yeah. Aaron,
Unbelievable.
Serve yourself.
All right. Long
how
time
you
no
doing?
see.
Oh,
You're
good
Eve.
morning.
Oh, you're Eve. You got a piece of mail that what's your address? Text me your address, all right? Oh, my son is calling me. I gotta grab this.
Bye,
I'll talk to you
guys.
later. See you
Have a
later.
good day.
Bye, Ariel. Yeah, I
Bye.
will. No, leave her. She's.
Let's go, baby.
Stop sending me back.
¿Qué hacen?
Now you can let her in.
Papa, was I put my keeper?
Back in the closet.
Ellie.
Go get the milk, Avi. Go get milk. How was it, David? Yeah, you can't sit with the iPad yet. You didn't finish your stuff. Do you want to eat some breakfast though? Soon? Soon? Okay, go get your backpack. And I don't have your water bottle, so give me your water bottle. Okay, so come on. You locked yourself.
Lock myself.
Yeah.
Go buy milk, Papa. Go buy more milk.
There is no more there?
No, there's just this.
Okay,
Go buy milk.
no problem. Okay, well, you don't have, I don't have your water bottle. And David, go get your backpack again. Come on.
Probably fell out of my backpack.
Well, as usual.
The bus driver has it.
How do you always manage to do that?
Because I put it in my little cup.
So don't put it over there because it's heavy. It's heavy bottle. No, no, no. Hold the bottle. You don't put the milk first. David. Okay, all right. So take the sweater out, take the computer, go put your computer upstairs. Give me your bottle before you go. Go put it somewhere also. Again, too much. No, not like that. Not like that, like that.
I want the colors. I want the colors.
So stop.
That's a better idea. That was really happy.
Because it was very, I told him, no, why you gotta say that?
Mr. Morris still there? That means Robert is coming, right?
Yeah.
If you were here, then Robert is coming. You're Robert's favorite. Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna pass it. You wanna, you gonna do something? All right. What happened to the
Oh.
Morning, Boker Tov. Stop the partition? Or should we do that? Something in the partition a little bit? Yeah. You scan across the doors by Yekula?
Usually over there, no?
Yeah, it's like, here it is. No, this is the volume. From across the door, there's no hook for Bayika. There's a hook, we remember when you across the door. And you have to use the other one. That's what I'm doing. I think we just have to do the. No, we want to do the zero from John.
Eu estava ali no agora, mas e ela tudo certo.
Mas não tem,
Saturday.
well, you know, yeah, on which subject? He has a lot of. He has a lot of subjects.
You good idea?
Yes, a very good idea. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. And we never close this off.
You still there, yourself?
Okay.